I'm Chris Trott with Team TaylorMade. Here we are on the tour trailer, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of building Rory McIlroy's Carbon Wood Stealth Plus driver. So let's get into it. I've got the spec out the gate. Rory is going to be playing a Stealth Plus 9-degree head, but he wants to start with a loft before we even get going that's a touch stronger. So as I go through this, they've all got actual lofts written on there. I'm going to cherry pick a 9 that is on 8.5. I'm then going to take the 1.5 sleeve that comes in this head, and I'm going to move it one click towards lower. Reason being, I've picked a head at 8.5. I can now move it down just a ½ degree, get it towards the 8-degree setting, which we can check here on our Dela Cruz. But also, I can get that face angle of the carbon wood slightly open, which is where Rory is going to like it. So out the gate, I've already moved the loft sleeve to get it exactly where I need it. Now, obviously, all great golf clubs are going to need a golf shaft. The ever-popular Fuji golf shaft in the 60-gram X-Flex right here with the Velo core is going to look beautiful against these graphics. That is what Rory plays. Putting it together just as dry there, because when you build these clubs for the best players in the world, I've already spoken to you about face angles. I've already spoken to you about cherry picking the head. I want to make sure, just as a player, when you look down, this is going to be what Rory's looking for. And you can see here the twist face, the carbon wood, the face, the nano texture, it peels away, and it's going to give him that perfect look at address of the red against the black face. The movable weight technology, we'll get into changing that later for the perfect swing weight. Swing weight is balance point. But more for my own personal sanity, and to start out, I'm going to place that in the middle, which is where Rory plays it. Set that aside, all ready to rock and roll. Grab our white marker. Now, Rory tip trims the golf shaft 1 inch. A lot of players do this on the tour. It's in order to cut down into the fibers of the golf shaft and just get that playing a little bit less torque, gonna control the spin easier. These guys are moving at ball speeds sometimes of 190 miles an hour. So just by tipping the club, it's somewhat industry standard. It also changes the feel a little bit and makes it play a little bit more solid, a little bit how the player likes to feel it. Straight through on there, just tip, grind away, pressing very lightly just to remove the paint from the end. Now that'll give it an abrasive edge to bond to when I go to setting it into the golf shaft. Now I moved the sleeve earlier. Again, I want to make sure everything's lined up for the graphics. I'm going to play, Rory McIlroy is 45 5/8 end of grip. So we allow 1/8 of an inch for the grip that he plays, which is the multi-compound. So 45.5 cut. That'll give us the 5/8 when we're finished. Marker that up into the circular saw. And when I put it in here, notice that I'm going to twist the golf shaft when I put it in. So you literally connect. You're not pushing all the way through. Twist, twist, twist. Perfect. Off it comes. Remove, done. Now, we have these covers on here, so nothing's going to go into your eyes. All the shaft dust falls down there. The extraction on this tour truck is amazing. Gets rid of anything that's coming off. So you've now got 2 pieces of golf club that are ready to rock pretty much, but of course we need to stick this together. And this is where the process gets very toury, for want of a better word. I've got my double-sided tape sat there. I'm going to put my epoxy there in a minute. I'm going to use 2 parts black, 1 part honey. So the 1 part honey, I want to measure out. I'm only making 1 golf club here, so I just want to go 2 grams is plenty. Sorry. I'm just going to measure it out here until we get to 1 gram. Perfect. We're only making 1 golf club. Obviously, if I was making a full set, I'd do a lot more here. And then 2 part black to the 1 part honey. So let's take this number up to 3. You might have to do a bit of editing here. I'm adding a little bit of this. Make sure we're going. Good. Okay. Then, Golfworks Quick Center. It's important we use this and mix it into our epoxy. Main reason being, when you place the golf shaft into the FCT sleeve, you want it to be centered. How do you do that? How do you ensure that happens? By adding some quick center in there. It will change the weight a little bit, but you haven't factored that in yet. Swing weight I'm going to adjust by changing the weight in the back of the Stealth Plus or the movable weight sleeve, depending on the spin rate you want. I'll try for Rory. He has everything done and the back, so we don't touch the movable weight sleeve, because that would adjust the spin. You will experience that if you go through a fitting as a consumer. But the reason I'm telling you all that is because every time I'm mixing and adding epoxy in there, I'm obviously adjusting the weight of the build. And the weight of the build is so important. I've got a swing weight scale here. There are 3 of these swing weight scales on the truck, and they're balance points of the golf club. So anything you add, which in this case, as you can see, is some epoxy that I'm adding in there, is going to impact the weight, overall weight, which then in turn is going to impact the swing weight and the balance point of the golf club. So it's important that everything is measured. It has to be precise and perfect every time in order to build the perfect golf club for these players. So, flight control sleeve lined up, Ventus black graphics lined up, bang this down, perfect, that's in nice perfectly there. Grab a cloth, wipe away the excess, keep this nice and clean. Unscrew your head on here and get ready then to use these devices that you can see in front of me. It's a curing cell, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to time itself at 2 minutes 45 in order for this golf club to be perfectly dry. Because of the epoxy that we've used, because of the way now we're drying it at this temperature, in 2 minutes and 35 seconds, this will be ready to rock and roll. Timer's done. Hit that reset for the next person. Keep Wade happy. Wipe away any excess. And now that is perfectly formed. By the time someone would put the grip on and walk out onto the range, believe it or not, that is going to be ready to use. So, next piece you need on this golf club, as I just said though, is a grip. Tighten back up the loft sleeve. At this stage, you can see I'm not touching the flight control piece. It's still going to have a little bit of heat to it. It's basically just being cooked. So I'm not going to double check my loft and lie on that just yet. But I am going to get ready for the Rory McIlroy grip, lined up in here in some good company with the other Team TaylorMade athletes. Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, Tiger Woods, to name a few, are all in there. Now you will see, sorry, I've shot that a little quick for you. I know, but you guys can see here, Rory 1+1 on the tapes. And you can see as we come into this area, and check that out, this is one of the great features of this truck, hydraulic grip station. Think about how quick you guys out there who are assistant pros would be doing your regrips if you had a hydraulic grip system. And I'm actually just lining up, as I look down, perfectly the carbon wood, the stealth face, the 60 layers, the red, perfectly against the black crown. So I know it's in there square as I look down that way. Now you can see it's 1+1. You've got to be thinking, well, why doesn't it just say 2 tapes? Why doesn't it just have 2 tapes on there? Because one of them is going to be a build-up, and that is the 1, okay? Measure out the tape. 1+1, like I mentioned. So you start with the masking tape. 1, rub down the top. It's important now that everything's flat. You don't want to have a ridged tape for tour players. They're going to be very specific on that. So when the first tape goes on, if you're building it up for someone, that's a pretty good example. You would think I might have done this a few million times before, but it's gone on perfectly with no markings. Again, I'm just going to start an edge, so I've got a perfect flat edge. Maybe some of my OCD coming out there, who knows? And then I'm going over the top of the seam now with the +1, which is the double-sided. I'm going over the top of the seam in order to not build the seam up. And again, I'm putting it down so that it's going to fall perfectly underneath the length of the grip. Wrap, flat palm, pull round, and wrap. Done that slowly for you, so anyone out there can pick up any tips if they're regripping, but normally that's done at pace, and everything is looking perfectly smooth on there, ready to go. Any excess, you either cut if you've got loads with the scissors, or you can just push it down the butt end of the shaft. Now, Rory takes, I think, logo up. Let me check on that one. This is going to be absolutely bang on to his build. We're going to have 58 round Golf Pride logo up. He uses the multi-compound, and he uses it, they call it black on black, I think. Obviously, a little white tip at the end. I do quite a lot of fluid just to make sure that'll dry slower than the actual epoxy that we've got on. And again, I knew, I made a mental marker, you could see when I was putting that down. I don't want to overstretch the grip now, but I knew it was going to go roughly a 1/4 inch beyond the tape. Sometimes I'll put the tape all the way, but that's gone on perfectly. Then I'm lining up again with my, it's a round grip, but these guys are going to be finicky on it and they're going to look. So I'm lining up the top edge here in the decal underneath the P through to the decal in the middle as a marker that the company make in the middle. Then I imagine there's a line going underneath Golf Pride, and then I want the marker down at the bottom end of the grip being perfectly perpendicular and square to the blade. So when I look down there before I take it out of the gripping machine, everything is perfect, I think. Out the gripping machine, flip it round, make sure it's lined up at the back with the graphics you've got, and already you can see this is now becoming a beautiful golf club. So wipe off any of the excess grip fluid, place it down. Remember, you're building this yourself as if you're a player, so start to think about how this would look. Are you going to like that? Is Rory going to like that? So far, so good. Still not going to measure loft and lie because I know from the cherry picking at the start this is going to be where it wants to be. But we get to this point which we talked about. Swing weight machine, swing weight, what is it? Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a reason and education now as to why this is so important. So it's balance point. So each swing weight, so every bit of weight that I add on the end here, every 2 grams is 1 swing weight. And that's going to then move my weight that I have here for the balance point. Why is it so important? Remember I talked about tipping the golf shaft? It's feel. Every time you change the weights, it changes the way this club feels. As a player comes in and delivers it, it's a different dynamic loft, it's a different ball flight. So we're at D3, so I need to find an extra 4 grams in this head. I also mentioned to you earlier, I can change that through the movable weight technology at the front, and I can start changing the weights in there, or I can do it through this TSS weight at the back, which is also available to you guys out there on a custom fitting. I want to do it through the weight at the back. The whole way this driver's designed with energy transfer, I want to do it with the weight at the back. The more mass you can put in the back, the more speed, the more energy you're going to get through as a golfer. Rory's living in exactly the same world as you guys. He wants speed. He wants energy transfer. He wants to get this ball moving quickly, so he wants the weight at the back if you can adjust it. You can see here, I have all these weight options. The engineers at TaylorMade, they know what we're going to need this for. Tip the cap to those guys. They know every weight option we're going to need to change for all these players. Let's keep the truck tidy. Wade Lyles, if you're out there watching, I put that 4 grams straight back in. I've gone with an 8 gram in the TSS at the back on our swing weight gauge. Remember I said to you I'm trying to find it at D5, and there you go. Perfectly balanced now at D, letter number 5, which is the balance point that Rory likes in order to play this exactly how he's going to want this club to feel. Final checkpoint that I said I'd go through for you, just to show you that we've got this right. I wanted face angle, and I wanted a certain loft number. So into the Dela Cruz, tighten this up, get the score lines of the face on the lie angle where you're going to want them. So you can see on the nano texture and the full face score lines, I line up for a perfect lie angle, because you can't get your exact loft until you've got the perfect lie angle. That's coming out at 59. And then because the face has curvature on it, I want to find the perfect marker for the loft that he wants. Again, I cherry pick the head just below the center, just in the center on a 2-pin. You can see it's 8 degrees. It's where I said we needed to be. 8.5 head, 8 head measuring when we started. It's a 9, actual 8.5. Turn it down a bit, you get it to 8. Perfect. And the other thing we can do here, remember I talked to you about flight control sleeve, face being open. As you sole it, so I've just put this club, loosened it a bit here on the golf shaft, soled it, then I can line that up, and this face is going to be 3 degrees open. Exactly what Rory would want. We will record all that, make sure we've got all the information. I'm going to find some of the adhesive remover, wipe off any fingerprints that have come on here through the process. Be sure after you've done this, you don't touch the face or the head. Bang, down the grip. Just holding on to the grip now. Any fingerprints are off there. We'll move over to the other side, pick up his head cover. And that right now, during the stage that this has taken to build, is going to be ready to hit without a shadow of a doubt. Deliver that to his caddy, and this is ready to rock and roll on the golf course and hit some absolute bombs.